Fables of La Fontaine. The Wolf Turned Shepherd. A wolf who found in cautious flocks his tithes beginning to be few, thought that he'd play the part of fox, a character at least quite new. A shepherd's hat and coat he took, and from a branch he made a hook, nor did the pastoral pipe forget to carry out his schemes he set. He would have liked to write upon his hat, "I'm Guilot, shepherd of these sheep." And thus disguised he came pit-pat and softly stole, where fast asleep Guilot himself lay by a stack, his dog close cuddling at his back. His pipe too slept, and half the number of the plump sheep was wrapped in slumber. He got the dress. Could he but mock the shepherd's voice, he'd lure the flock. He thought he could. That spoiled the whole affair. He'd spoken. His howl re-echoed through the wood. The game was up. The spell was broken. They all awake, dog, shepherd, sheep. Poor wolf, in this distress and pretty mess, in clumsy coat bedight, could neither run away nor fight. At last the bubble breaks. There's always some mistake a rascal makes. The wolf, like wolf, must always act. That is a very certain fact. Well, there you have it. What's this all about? The wolf turned shepherd. Well, basically, a wolf was having trouble getting sheep. They were awful cautious. So he decided instead of hunting, he would trick them. So he decides to dress up like the shepherd. And he goes up in the night dressed as the shepherd, kind of like the wolf in Little Red Riding Hood, dressing up like grandmama, so to speak. Anyway, he comes in and he looks perfect. So the only thing he has to do is call the sheep to come follow him. And he thought he could do it. So he opens his mouth and tries to imitate the shepherd, and out comes a howl. So the dog wakes up, the shepherd wakes up, the sheep wakes up, and the wolf realizes this isn't going to work. So he tries to run away, but he's dressed up like a shepherd. So he's tripping and he can't run away and he can't fight. So that's not good for the wolf. It doesn't say what exactly happens, but since he can't run away or fight, we can only assume it doesn't end well for Mr. Wolf. So, what is the point? The point is, when somebody tries to pretend to be something they're not, whether it's they're trying to pretend they're a tough guy, or they're trying to pretend they're an intellectual, or they're trying to pretend that they're a nice, good boyfriend, or if they try to pretend they're a nice, good, honest woman, or if they try to pretend they're anything that they're really not, they can dress up like it and they can fool you for a while. But the wolf has a wolf's nature, and because of this, the wolf has to act like a wolf sooner or later. They can only keep the trick going for so long. Eventually, the truth is going to show itself. So, There's a saying, I don't know how popular it is, but if you give people the time to speak, they will tell on themselves. You just have to be patient and listen to what they say. And their true nature is always under the surface, and the charade can probably not be held up forever. So the point is, if you meet somebody and they seem too good to be true, they probably are trying to pull the wool over your eyes. You have to vet these people very carefully. Don't trust them too quickly. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. I remember that I was in a relationship with a woman and she wanted to get married. And my concern was, look, since we've been together, we haven't had any difficulties. So I don't know how you are going to act when difficulties arise. We've been very lucky. We've had a very wonderful time with no problems. But this has only shown how you react in the good times. And of course, I never married this woman, and thankfully so, because when bad times arose, it wasn't very good. And it turned out this woman was pretending to be wonderful and was patiently keeping the facade going, hoping she could trap me into a marriage and then she could relax and show her true self. And that would have been very detrimental to my life. As it turns out, it was very detrimental to my life being mixed up with this woman anyway, but at least I can say, thank God I never married that person. Because had I married her, it probably would have been worse for me. And it's been pretty bad. So, also, you meet somebody, they seem intelligent, and you were pretty impressed with them. But as the conversation flows, you realize, yeah, they can be intelligent and appear intelligent for 20 minutes talking on a subject, and then they exhaust their complete knowledge of the subject, and somebody you thought was an expert turns out that maybe read a couple of articles or a newspaper article or a book or saw some YouTube videos, and that's the extent of their knowledge on the subject. Or, you hire an employee and you speak to that person. Of course, they're going to show up in their suit and tie and tell you how much they love company and how much they want a job and this, that, and the other thing. And if you dig a little deeper, you realize that they don't know anything about your company. Or something like this. So, the point is, give people the benefit of the doubt, but don't be surprised that they're pretending to be something they're not. A lot of people want to be admired, so they kind of gild the lily. So what that means is a lily is a flower that's very beautiful, and to gild a lily means they coat it in gold. Well, you don't need to coat a lily in gold. A lily is a flower, very beautiful, made by God. Basically, you're not going to improve upon it by gilding it. You're adding extra. Too much of something is often just as bad as not enough of something. The golden mean, spoken about by Aristotle, is the perfect. Excess, too much of something, regress, not enough of it. This is similar to walking the path, that trying to be a good Christian. Yes, if you sin, you veer off the path and you try to get back on the path, and you might overshoot and you veer off, overshoot, come back. This is the line in the yin and yang symbol where you're walking the fine line between the dark and the light and the golden mean. You're right walking the razor's edge. And that's the whole point, what you're trying to do. To sin, sin is actually an onomatopoeia word. It's the sound of an arrow whizzing past your head. Sin! It means you've missed the target. You've sin, the arrows whiz by. Getting hit right on target, you're not sinning. And the guideline in the Christian religion is basically the Ten Commandments and the sayings and the teachings of Jesus. And if you're not hitting that, you're off the path. Well, you try to get closer and closer to the path. So you don't sin. You walk the line. Anyway, no need to gild the lily. Be yourself, and people will appreciate you if they like your style. And people who don't like your style, you're not going to convince them by pretending to be something you're not. So if you be yourself, you will attract the right kind of people. If you pretend to be something you're not, you're going to attract people who like that type of person, which isn't actually you. So it's really not something you should do. Anyway, if you have anything you'd like to add, down below, please. Till next time, goodbye.